Welcome to Winter Sports Market 2025. New year, new gear. Let's go check it out. Hey, Jonny Moseley here for Peter Going Skiing Sports, hanging out at Winter Sports Market. This is where we get to see all the new cool stuff coming down the line, and we're in the Nordica booth with Corpy, and we're looking at boots. And we're talking about this. This is the Sportmachine.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about the Sportmachine.
So this is our Sportmachine. This is our 102 millimeter last. So we call this is our wide fit of the machine family. So we have Pro Machine, which is our narrow, Speed Machine, this is our medium, and then this is Sportmachine, which is our widest machine family boot.
Okay.
We call it a family because they all have Triforce frames, which is the engine behind this product. Basically an exoskeleton that delivers all the power and allows you to transmit that to the edge of the ski.
And that all happens right around here. Basically.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
It's highlighted here.
Yeah.
In these areas.
Yeah, that's kind of like the, when you go to edge the boot, you want the transmission to go directly to the ski. So this part has to be really stiff. But of course, if you make that part really stiff, it can be very uncomfortable. So the idea is to try to like combine that with sort of softer materials around your foot.
That's right.
So I guess one question is, how do you know if you're a sport machine guy or a speed machine guy? Is there a way to sort of like gauge it?
Yeah, I mean, typically people know if they have a wide foot or a skinny foot or just an average foot. So if you're one of those guys or ladies who is always looking for shoes that are wider and you're like, these are too narrow.
Okay.
You're probably looking at the sport machine. If you're never really put too much thought into it, you're probably a medium. But if you have a little pencil foot, you're always tying your laces super tight, you're probably a narrow.
Pencil foot.
So most people know.
So tell me this though. You know how when in the beginning of the year, someone will put their foot in their boot and they'll be like, oh, it's so tight. But a week later, it's not tight anymore.
Yeah.
So is that still the case with boots, or, when you put it on in the store, if it's tight, you should be like, it's too tight.
Yeah. So, the rule of thumb, it should feel kind of like a firm handshake.
Okay.
Put your boots on.
Sure.
Yeah, and they'll relax over time, especially if they're new. But it should be a firm handshake. You shouldn't be able to wiggle and move around.
Okay.
And there is a little bit of a braking process, but there's technologies out there that allow us to speed up that process. For example, throwing the liner in the oven, making it nice and warm and gummy, so it forms to your foot.
Okay. And then when you get more down to the sport machine, obviously the flex gets a little softer.
Yep.
This is a 110, say, compared to the speed machine 120. You don't go sport machine 120 or something like that as well.
You can if you want to, but typically, you don't, just because you're going wider, you don't necessarily go softer.
Okay. And then is the performance as far as like the angles and things like that different when you get down to a sport or get to a wider, like does that, just because you go with a wider, more comfortable boot, does everything else change as well a little bit?
Not exactly. We try to actually match that performance from all the different boots. We do change the cup positions and the ramp angles a little bit because if you typically have a wider foot, you typically have a little wider calf, so you're not jacked forward. So we typically like to relax those a little bit.
Okay.
So everyone's standing in the same position.
Okay, cool. And there's a woman's version, obviously.
In the 85W, that's right.
85W, that's the flex. The 85 number is flex. The 110 is kind of the softest of the boot. And obviously you guys know about the BOA. If you don't by now, then you're definitely due for some new boots.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, Corpy. Thank you very much. Jonny Moseley here with Peter Going Skiing Sports. Get the gear before you go. Have a great winter.